Brill. I reckon get started, Rich. So
Yeah,
welcome everyone. But yeah, I'm going to hand over to Rich really, and you're going to take us through what's new in 1.19, aren't you?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks everyone for joining. As Mel said, this webinar is going to go through the new features that have come in 1.19. We'll also have a quick look at the end about some idea to the future about what is coming on the roadmap for Squirrel as well. So a quick agenda for us. Have a quick look at the new and improved sidebar. We'll talk about the groups overhaul. We'll have a quick play with the new AI chat and AI function capabilities within Squirrel. Talk about the full launch of design in the browser. And then, as I mentioned at the end, we'll have a quick look at our now, next and future roadmap. So let's jump into some demos then. So the first demo is looking at the new and improved sidebar. So if I go into a blank new project, as you can see, we've re-engineered the left-hand menu. Before we had a combination of an object browser and your functions and connections all in one view, and that was getting quite cluttered with the number of components and features and functions that we were introducing. So we've kind of separated that and I made it a little bit more easily to access certain things. So first things first is we've added the ability to go straight into project settings from the left menu. Whereas previously, to get into that menu, you'd have to go to the file and find project settings to open up the settings information. We've also separated the functions and connections away from the object browser and now into their own independent drawers. So we've got the connections here where we can add a new connection, and you've got your list of connections that are available in here. You can view it as either a list or in a grid. It's exactly the same behavior as before. If I wanted to click on an Excel OneDrive, it'll sort of add it onto the side here for you as well. But you don't have to have that. Previously, it was in a little accordion, and the drop down for you to select your connector was quite small and quite cluttered. It becomes more prevalent, more relevant on functions. For example, I've got lots of add-on functions on my account. So if you look here, I've got quite a few of the add-on functions here, and my drop down was getting very, very large, and having to scroll through things all the time was taking up quite a considerable amount of time. Another feature that we've added in is something that's been requested a number of times now, which is the ability to duplicate. So if I go to my connections, I've got my Excel OneDrive, I might have configured lots of information and I want to have another connector with almost identical properties, but maybe only a couple of little different tweaks. Before, you'd have to add another Excel OneDrive connector on there, go through all the effort of configuring it. Now you can just right click, duplicate, and it's created a second one for you, and that will inherit all the properties of the first one. So then you can go in there and just make the tweaks and changes that you'd want to as well. Looking now at the add components section. So we've got the object browser has been rebranded as component tree. It is now purely looking at your visual components on the canvas in your project, and your component library now is got more space. It's not pull-outs and left-hand side menu. It's now one big drawer that you can view here, and again you can view that as either a grid or a layout or a row. We've also added the ability to search in here as well. So I want to search for buttons, I can just search for button, and then all the button components are available, and again I can just drag and place those on the canvas as well. So that is the new and improved left-hand sidebar, and we'll be adding and tweaking things when we add more capabilities to Squirrel in the future. But this new approach and this new layout gives us more flexibility for what we can achieve going forwards. The next things that we looked at is a groups overhaul. In 1.18, we introduced the ability to have layout containers, so you can start stretching and positioning content within groups and containers, and that highlighted an issue with our groups that we wanted to address, which is a combination between some people were using groups for logically grouping things at design times, other people were using groups for physically grouping things at and manipulating them at runtime, and that was causing issues with our layout containers. So we wanted to kind of clarify the water with that a little bit. If I let me just say duplicate this button, so I've got some buttons on here now. Previously you would select those and you can either go to arrange and group and it will create a group, or you control G to group it. this group is now a logical grouping. It's just for design time. It's allow you in the component tree to see objects grouped together. You can move them around and you can reparent them and move them. But if you want to apply any form of properties to it, like dynamic visibility or positioning or size, for example, then you'd need to do that for viewing at runtime. Then you have to do that in the container. The containers have a lot more control around them. But in 1.18, there was no way of saying, well, I want to put all this into a container. Previously, you'd had to have browsed for your container, add a container in, and then ungroup your objects, and then move those all into the container, which is a bit convoluted, a bit time consuming. What we've done now is, if I group this back up again, we've added a number of different ways now that you can easily convert your group into a container. First way is there's a nice simple button on the property panel. If I select on that, it will take all the contents of this group and create a container for me. So I've now got a container with those buttons in there as well. Another option is I can select my group. We've now got a right-click context menu on the canvas, so I can now choose to convert to container. This is also handy if you want to do alignment, center back, bring forward, lock and unlock, and those sorts of things. But in here, I can convert to container, and it's converted it. And similarly, you can go to convert to container there. We've got it in about 4 or 5 different places, convert to container here as well. And with it as a container, I've now got the ability to do things like putting scroll bars on there. So if my container window is smaller, you can see I've now got scroll bars on my container. If I make my container bigger or move objects around, and I don't want it to be that big, I might have put a background on, for example. I don't want it to be that big. I want it to be just the size of the container. The contents, there's now a button, resize the contents, and it will shrink the container to be just the right size that you need for the contents as well. So this is our overhaul of groups. Grouping is now, as I said, just for design time. It's a logical collection of groups. But if you want to do anything at runtime, or you want to add any properties, then you need to convert those to containers. And we've provided that simple way in as well. So let's have a look at the new AI chat and function capabilities. If I throw this away and go to my chat demo, I've got a nice little AI chatbot. So in the component tree, in the miscellaneous, we've got AI chat. So you can drag that on, configure it by pointing it to your OpenAI key. So you need to provide your own OpenAI API key. You've got different personas that you can have the AI widget behave like. So we've given us some examples of different personalities that you can use, like an analytics expert or a storyteller or a business consultant. What these are just pre-canned examples of what you could do. So if I click on business consultant, and it puts the information into this text box here, but in here you can edit that and put whatever you want into there. So this is where you can kind of add a little bit of context or a little bit of scene settings for how you want your AI bot to respond to end users. If I go back to storytelling here, and this AI chat widget is just that simple. You just specify the sort of personality you want, and that's pretty much it. So if I go into debug here and then type in hi, that's now sending a message off to OpenAI, and this is the bot responding back. And it'll be the similar sort of experience if you go to ChatGPT, and you'll see that conversation. If it's taking a long time, you'll see the ... appearing there, and as a message comes back, it will start streaming that into view here, so you can have a look at it. I've got a quick example. It's not the best example, but if I give an example, what is 20 degrees C as Fahrenheit? And this is the AI bot responding back and giving me a nice verbose, because I've told it to be a storyteller, it giving me a nice long text definition about what 20 degrees centigrade is as Fahrenheit. So this is the AI chat widget, which is the visual piece. We've done all the visual designs for you, but we've also created a function as well. So we go to the functions drawer. We've also got the AI builder function. Very similar set of properties here. You can specify the personality. You can provide your own personality. You can also select which model that you want to use, and it will be adding, as OpenAI released new models, we'll be adding new models into here. Well, if they've been deprecating, say 3.5 gets deprecated, we'll remove this from the list as well, but we'll be enhancing this as new releases from OpenAI go. We've got different things like temperature and max tokens, and we've got some help to explain what the differences are and what the use for these properties are. and then it'll output. So this is very similar to the AI chat widget we've got here, but rather than it being a visual piece, this is a function. So we can now start taking data from the spreadsheet and then passing that into my prompt. So if I have a look and turn on the temperature change here, I've got a very simple little widget here. I've got a drop down to select different types of Fahrenheit, Celsius and Kelvin. I've got a slider to choose a temperature and then a button to convert it. And the idea being is all these inputs are concatenated together in this formula here, and then I will then pass that up to OpenAI. This is not a very useful case because you can use Excel formulas to work out the temperature conversion, but it demonstrates the ability to take user input, concatenate that and augment that with additional information in the spreadsheet, and then send that off up to OpenAI. So if I just turn that back on, so I want to convert from, let's say, minus 30 degrees centigrade into Fahrenheit, send it off to OpenAI, and the response back is minus 22 Fahrenheit. I want to convert that to Kelvin, and that is the response I'm getting immediately back from OpenAI. So it's not the most useful demo, but it demonstrates the ability to take content from the Squirrel spreadsheet and then augment that and pass that through to OpenAI as well. I think Mel's got a more realistic demo. So if I load that one up, Mel, do you want to walk through it?
Yeah, sure. So I'm not sure about realistic, but again, trying to think of other use cases for this. And one of the things you see AI being used for is the sort of sentiment analysis side of things. So the concept here is you could have a source, a data source that was bringing in a lot of kind of textual information. So it could be customer sort of survey results or product reviews or something like that. You bring that into the Squirrel project. And then what we want to do is get, instead of having a human sit there and read it and go, was it something good, something bad, something neutral that they said about the product or service? What does AI determine that to be? So yeah, we're just using the function there to basically receive all of those comments or reviews in one go, and then analyze them, and using AI determine whether it was positive, negative, or neutral, and return that back. It's kind of an example of how you could kind of bulk do some sentiment analysis using that function. And all we've done really is construct a prompt, which is what we've passed into that personality property rich there. So if we have a look at that quickly, constructed a prompt that's been given a very specific set of instructions of how to treat this. So it basically says perform sentiment analysis, and then we're very, very specific about how we want the response. So we only want the word negative, neutral, or positive, and we tell it how to return the information as well, and what to do if it can't determine it, and that sort of thing. So all the intelligence, if you like, in terms of building this as a mini application is in crafting that prompt, and then we're using AI to return us, to do what we've asked it to do and return us the results. Reg has asked a question actually about the max tokens, whether it's per session or if there's some other limit on it. I believe it's per, that's the maximum number of tokens that you can have, is it, Rich, for both the information you're sending up and the response you get back. So if that number is low, it could cut off the response that you receive. Is that right? Like per call,
so OpenAI, they split their tokens into like your question and then also your response. So that max token is a cumulative max tokens that you would do that. Another thing to bear in mind, so if you wanted to, you can restrict it and you can configure it here. So the idea is you can have a little bit of control to prevent someone asking a really long, convoluted, pasting the whole of War and Peace in, for example, and sending it up and just destroying your AI budget in one go. The other thing we've got to bear in mind is what this checkbox here, which is to keep chat memory, which is that first example with the AI chat widget where I typed in hello and then I could ask another question, another question, another question. If I say remember the chat memory, I could tell it some information and then ask a future question, it'll remember that. But to achieve that, we have to basically keep on sending back the information to the AI to give it that context. So if you tick that box as I keep chat memory, subsequent questions will exponentially increase the cost of your token utilization as well. I mean, the information is here, and also in our Learn articles on the Learn site, it provides you that. The best thing we'd suggest is OpenAI is very good with regards to like enforcing limits is to just use it and have a look at your token utilization, and you can flex different bits to kind of provide that sort of control and capability. But OpenAI also provides those sorts of capabilities as well, where you can control your spend and to prevent surprising bills at the end of the month. Okay, so that is the AI chat widget. The next one then is, so that's the main end of the main full release in terms of new capabilities and new functions. The other thing we wanted to announce is, so in 1.18 we announced the soft release of Designer in the browser, which is our browser version of Squirrel. As you can see in the demos that we're doing today, this is all in the browser. It's all using app.squirrel365.io. So if you can use that, your existing logins will work. You can go into there. If in 1.18 you've been saving your Squirrel files into the cloud, they'll be available also from your file manager here as well. But the in 1.19 design in the browser has come out of that soft release. It's now a full launch, available to everyone to use going forwards. And then if we have a quick look at the now, next, and future before we jump on to if there are any more questions. So what we wanted to do on these sorts of release webinars is to kind of provide a little bit more insight and a little bit more transparency about what we're working on. Not just the release webinars is look at what we have done, it's also look at what we're currently working on and what is we're looking at to the future as well. So now, next, and future is kind of split into those three pillars. So now is what we're currently actively developing at the moment and is most likely to going to be in the next release of Squirrel. The next column, which is the green column, is things we're working on and we're quite a long way through investigating or implementing, and it's something that's going to be coming very soon. And future is things that we are looking at and playing with at the moment. We're actively doing things on it. We might be doing user research, we might be doing design work, we might be doing some proof of concepts behind the scenes. And the idea being is the future is stuff that we are looking at in the future. And the whole point of this roadmap is it's kind of a living roadmap where things will move from column to column. So the idea being is things in next will move into now when we start delivering things, and things from future might disappear off if we decide to not proceed with it, or they might move into the next feature. So Mel, do you want to go through some of these key ones that we're working on at the moment?
Yeah, sure. So Date Picker is, we've had quite a number of requests actually for Date Picker that will let you select a range or more customization options within it. So that's one that is coming. So hopefully that will help with building apps, etc. The Squirrel Manager improvements are centered around navigation, really, and accessing other parts of the Squirrel ecosystem. So your account in the cloud, the assets, integrations and connections managers and stuff like that, bringing that all into a centralized place to make it easier to access. And we've got
with those Squirrel improvements, we're aware at the moment that we've got the Squirrel Manager within the application itself. We've also got the account manager pages, and it's just kind of like, don't want to have two places where you have to go to. We want to have it so that we've got a unified place. So over time, we'll be moving capabilities away from the cloud pages and into the application. Now Squirrel is a web-based application as well within the design in the browser. We want to bring those sorts of capabilities into that design, that Squirrel Manager experience as well. So in the next release of Squirrel, which is 1.20, we'll start seeing a nicer, new and improved menu structure, which will then facilitate us to add more capabilities into that going forwards.
Yeah, exactly. The compound conditional logic that we've got there, so that is where we've got the comparator, as we call it internally. We blame Graham for that that naming, but essentially where you can set logic such as on your dynamic visibility or disable when, and some of the triggers where you can say where it's equal to, greater than, less than, is null, that's that, or when that cell's changed. We've made it, or are making it, so that you can have multiple of those. So it can be when this is equal to this, so when this cell equals that value and this other thing changes, or when this is greater than that and this cell over here is equal to that. So the idea being that a lot of the more complex formula logic you would have to do in the spreadsheet to say this, when this cell's written this and this cell over here is equal to that and blah, 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 to kind of evaluate when you want to trigger something or make something happen. this is now giving the ability to do some of that just directly on the component in the property panel instead of needing to manage that in the spreadsheet. And there you go, Richard's got some of how that looks with the and/or logic.
So you can start building up some complex criteria. And I'll say it's not just for dynamic visibility. We want to roll this out across everywhere where we've got that design pattern. So if you look in the design pattern where one thing equals another, or we've got is empty, is not empty, that sort of everywhere we've used this, we want to roll that ability to add that compound logic in there, so you can say when this and that equals something and that sort of thing.
And then we've got device mobile preview. So this is to facilitate building mobile apps. Really, at the moment, if you want to see exactly how something's going to look on a mobile phone in combination with our layout containers, then the easiest way is to publish that project and then either view it on a mobile phone or go into the dev tools in Chrome and play with the device sizes available to you as our preview. Window's quite limited. You can only shrink it down so far. So we'll be bringing something that's like kind of preset based on a predefined breakpoints that we've set at this stage for seeing it at desktop, tablet, and mobile sizes. So that one should be good. And then we've got HubSpot integration coming too. That's just because we've got quite a lot of people wanting to capture information in an app or a project and get that into HubSpot. They're using Zapier to do that today, so we can make that a little bit easier by going direct to HubSpot. And then next, as Rich says, this is things that we're sort of actively starting to work on and think about. Probably most of these are in what we would call the discovery phase at the moment. So we're doing a lot of research and experimentation around it. But yeah, the concept of workspaces and teams so that people can more easily share projects and publish apps and work on those across multiple people within an organization or a team. Custom components. So this isn't a nice one. This, once you've potentially layered a couple of components, starred some things up how you want them to look, then the ability to save that effectively as a custom component and have it in a library that's accessible so you can use it again. Working on those as well. Custom and vanity domains. This is to give you the ability to be able to put your own subdomain level, but your own subdomain for the project to be kind of referenced by, which is something that quite a few enterprises and larger customers are asking for. And the idea of a vanity domain as well. So at the moment, if you notice when you publish something, if you're not doing a local export, but you're publishing up to our cloud, we've got this unique ID for the project that you'd have the ability to give that a friendlier name as well, which could be useful for lots of people really. And bolt-ons is just, we've got the concept of sort of extra capability that potentially comes at an additional cost because it usually costs us extra to deliver it. So a mechanism for delivering features and functionality such as some of the PDF generation capabilities that we've got, Supabase integrations so that there's a way to kind of add that into the project as well in terms of what you have access to. And we'll be building and looking at opportunities for more of those going forward as well. And then future, so things that we're committed to making better or doing would be the updated project manager. So with things we're looking at there are perhaps the ability to have things in folders and better make it easier to manage your projects, search for projects, custom sort of thumbnails as well, potentially for those, a number of enhancements. If anyone's got any other thoughts around project manager and what would make their life easier there, we can look at that too. The AI one I'll come back to, but then the catalog of custom components, that's about once we've proved out the custom component mechanism for saving those, it's like how can we deliver more of those for you guys to be using in your projects as well. So almost like a little bit like templates, but very specific at a component level. So you can, it's a way of us getting more components in the product more quickly. Really, the AI querying data sets, that's something we're experimenting with at the moment, where you can ask sort of questions, so natural language sort of way of querying data that you may have either in the in the spreadsheet, or if you're an Infoburst customer, that you've got maybe sitting in caches in your XDC. So we can ask
But
questions.
specifically looking at ways that we can ask questions about the data without having to provide the data up to the AI as well. So that's what we're looking at them to try and prevent having to have either obfuscated or confidential information being passed up to AI endpoints.
Cool. That's it from the roadmap standpoint.
Any questions? Ian asked one about we were talking about the Zapier, about the ability to receive data back as a webhook. And I said that's oddly enough, me and you were having a conversation about that earlier today anyway. So I'll reach out to Ian to get a bit more of a use case. But this is, whether we could receive data back from a webhook and get that to do something inside of Squirrel, either triggering a refresh or maybe passing data in. So we'll reach out, Ian. But if anyone else has got any ideas or thoughts about what they would want from a webhook within Squirrel, then reach out on the community. I might put a post on there to get some captures of information, what people want. But yeah, we've been having a conversation about that today.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, we're always open for more.
We've had a question in from Jay-Z asking about the hidden infinite scroll thing. When we're pulling together this list of changes that we've done for 1.19, we looked at the release notes and it's like, well, only 2 or 3 things, and people go, oh, we forgot about that. Oh, we've forgotten about it. I forgot about the lazy loading on the repeat container. So the repeat container lets you bind to a block of data and then repeat rows of components. Like on this component here, Mel's got a text box with the information here, and we've also got another text box to the side with the results from the AI. The repeat container will then, so if you bind to a block of data, it will repeat that for these 10 rows here, which is great. It loads them up. When I go into debug, you can see they're all here. But what happens if there's not 10? What if there's 10,000? Behind the scenes, we don't want to create 10,000. You've got an image, you've got a text label, we've got another text label. You could have a number of components that are repeating each time. So we don't want to have to create 10,000 times 3 in this case, so 30,000 elements in the browser, because that will then start consuming memory in the browser and could cause the browser to start performing slowly. So what infinite scroll does, which is like lazy loading of components, it will only load into the browser's memory the selection of elements that are in view. So as you start scrolling down the view, it will then start behind the scenes just generating and loading the next element up there. So for large and long repeat containers, infinite scroll will speed things up so you don't have to then wait for the browser to do stuff. We're basically giving the browser bits of information as and when it needs it rather than all at the start. So it's designed for large blocks of data to make it perform as efficiently as possible. And I believe if I test, I believe it's on by default now.
It is, yeah.
Container. Yeah, it's on by default. If you've got an existing one, we haven't enabled it, so you have to go in and turn that on. So if you open an existing project, it won't be enabled by default, but any new ones you create will. So you can go in and enable that. But it's designed for large blocks of data. But there's no harm in having it on even for the smaller stuff. That's why it's on by default. I think. Do we have any?
No, that's good. I just checked then because John asked a question. It looks like we've forgotten to add the help, so we'll be adding that shortly after this call.
It'll be there tomorrow. Any more questions? Or any other features that we've implemented but not talked about?
There's a couple of things we spotted, Rich, to do with really simple, just little quality of life things. So making it a bit easier to navigate around the drop downs in the property panel with up down arrows and make selections with an enter key and stuff. Some of these seem so minor it's not worth raising because it's sort of expected behavior, but when you haven't had it, and if you felt that frustration, I guess it's that pain point is quite, it's good for you to know it's there now.
Or jump to letters.
Yeah, start typing to jump to the one that matches that, the first one in the list that matches the keystroke you've done.
Any other ones we've done? Can't think of any.
Will be. have a look at the release notes if people haven't already. It doesn't always include all the detail of all the bugs, but because we typically are resolving somewhere between 50 and 100 bugs in each build, so that'd be a long old list for people. But yeah, things that you've shown, Rich, like the context menu on the canvas, worth calling that out as well. Yeah. And then Ian's asked about a timeline for a make connector. I'm just checking, it is definitely in our ideas board, which I think it is. So it's not in the next list. Yeah, there is. We have got a ticket out there for it already, Ian. So it's one to be considered. We'll keep you posted. We don't have a timeline at the moment, but depends if I we'll do some digging and have a look at it, Rich, and see if there's an easy one to create. There we go. Set in stone now.
Well, it's in the future, but yeah. So we'll make sure we don't forget about that. Yeah.
Bro.
Cool. Okie dokie. Well, thanks so much. If there's no more questions, thank you, everyone. If you've got any more questions or you want any more information, by all means, reach out on the community. We can do some deep dives into certain features if you want to see it in a bit more detail. We're talking to Mel as well about not just showing the now, next, and future at the end of a release webinar. We also want to get into the point where if we're working on something and it's in a robust state that we can demo it, it may not be ready for the immediate release, but we can demo it. So when we get to that as well, we'll try and arrange a few more of these, maybe not long half-an-hour webinars, but maybe like 10-15 minutes, just kind of give you a bit of a sneak peek of what we're doing. So for example, once that device mobile preview is done and we're happy with it, then we can do a quick 5-10 minute webinar to show everyone, just so you got a bit of a forewarning about what's coming on as well. It also gives us that flexibility. So if there's tweaks and enhancements, so we can incorporate those as well. But thanks everyone for attending, and this webinar recording will be up on the community site probably tomorrow once Isaac's had a chance to process it and everything.
Bro.
Okay. Thanks all. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.